So the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer was finally released for all of us Marvel fans who had been begging for just a taste of what this movie will be about. Marvel finally released it to us. And while the trailer did provide us with a lot of information and got us excited for what honestly looks like is going to be a really fun and interesting, multiversal hopping movie, there is one problem that I have with not only the trailer itself, but with the movie overall that I feel might ruin the experience and will kind of take away some of the shine from it, at least in my opinion. So that's what I'm going to be discussing in today's video. But before I get started, here's a question for all you Marvel fans like me out there. What movie are you most excited for in Phase 4 of the MCU? Leave your answers down in the comments section, and let's get started. So the one problem that I see with this movie, and not just this one, but also kind of some of the other Spider-Man movies in the MCU, all the Tom Holland ones, the biggest problem I feel like right now, at least, is the fact that there's other heroes involved in this movie. Like, in Spider-Man Homecoming, he was partnered up with Tony Stark, basically. Stark was helping him the whole time. Like, it wasn't just Peter's story necessarily. It was heavily involved, or Tony Stark was heavily involved in it, and things like that. And then you come to, like, No Way Home, and now Doctor Strange is involved in it because Peter goes to him for help, basically erasing everyone's memories that so that they don't remember that Peter is Spider-Man, and things go awry, and that's where the multiverse is going to come in, as we saw in the trailer. I feel like the biggest problem with that is that Doctor Strange is in this movie, because when I saw this trailer, I immediately thought like I was watching the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness trailer, like the second Doctor Strange trailer, rather than the Spider-Man, the newest Spider-Man trailer, because I feel like this movie revolves too much around Doctor Strange, and I feel like that's a problem in all the Spider-Man movies, is that there's other heroes here kind of taken away from the experience of Spider-Man. For me personally, I would rather see this movie be about Peter struggling to, like, actually live in the world where everybody knows he's Spider-Man. Like, I kind of want to see that personal struggle. Like, now he can't hide it because everybody knows that he is both the hero and the villain, the hero and just a normal kid. But they also think he killed Mysterio, so there's that whole lingering thing. And we could see in the trailer he gets arrested at some point and is being interrogated and things like that. I feel like the movie would have been more interesting if it didn't involve the whole Doctor Strange subplot, where it's kind of leading into Doctor Strange 2. I feel like Peter having to figure out a way to get himself out of this mess, or at least not necessarily get everybody to forget that he is Spider-Man, but find a way to, like, clear his name. It should have been more about, like, him going on the run and him trying to find a way to reverse what Mysterio did, to prove to everybody that he is still a hero. He didn't become evil and kill somebody and all this other stuff like is being portrayed by Mysterio in the video we saw at the end of Far From Home. I feel like that's a lot more of an interesting story, and it doesn't take anything away from Spider-Man. It keeps the focus on him. Because if they keep adding in things that connect to the next part of the MCU, like, I get it is part of the MCU, but this is also Sony's Spider-Man. Like, they only have a few more movies left, I think, or this might even be one of the last ones where Tom Holland and Spider-Man are allowed to be considered part of the MCU before it goes back to just being, Sony's property and Sony owns it. I feel like by them having all these things in this movie, including Doctor Strange, and in the first one, Tony Stark and everything else, it takes away from these just being solo Spider-Man movies. Like in the first Iron Man, or even the second Iron Man movie, he didn't go to Thor for help. Like, I know Thor wasn't wasn't on Earth at the time. I'm just like, this is just an example, like, they didn't go to the other hero. Like Captain America didn't go to Tony Stark for help against Hydra in the Winter Soldier movie. You know, he just did it himself. He had Black Widow, I guess, but that's more of still just like a side character. Like he didn't go to one of the other like superheroes for help. It was just kind of like one of those. Black Widow's kind of in everything because she's an agent of Shield, and that had to do with Shield. You know, that movie in particular. But just Peter going to Doctor Strange, I mean, it makes sense because I feel like anybody would do that. Like, hey, I know a wizard, I could maybe go to him and see if he can do something. Like, I would do that too if I knew a wizard that could do that. But I just feel like that takes away from everything that this movie is meant to be about, Spider-Man. You know, and I feel like it would have been a better sort of journey into the character of Peter and Spider-Man, because this has never been done before, at least in the movies. I don't know if it's been done in the comics where like people found out who Peter was, or like he didn't I think there's one where he reveals who he is to people, but like I don't think there's been anything where like a villain actually reveals to the world who he is. So I think this could have been an intriguing story just in that regard. But having the whole like Doctor Strange thing in there just to kind of set up Doctor Strange 2, because everything goes wrong with this whole multiverse thing and him opening up the multiverse to help Peter and everything else, I feel like that kind of just takes away from this being a Spider-Man movie, and I feel like that might even kind of just ruin the movie slightly, because now every time you go back and watch these movies, you're like, oh, I'm a fan of Spider-Man. If you're just watching these just to watch Spider-Man, and then you got like Doctor Strange in there, and you've never seen like any of the other MCU movies, you're watching all the Spider-Man movies from the past or something, like the Sam Raimi ones with Tobey Maguire and everything else, and you come in and watch these ones, and now it's like, who's this wizard guy in here? You know, like I feel like that kind of takes the focus off of Peter and puts it more on Doctor Strange, because he's acting weird in this movie. And that's kind of what everybody's talking about. We're not talking about what Peter's doing in this movie. Everyone's talking about what Doctor Strange is up to and why he was willing to do such, willing to go through such methods and do that kind of spell, even though it risks opening the multiverse and everything else. Like, they're talking about that more than like what Spider-Man is doing in this movie. And that kind of defeats the purpose of a Spider-Man solo movie, if you know what I mean. So that, I feel, is the biggest problem with this movie, is that it has too much Doctor Strange in it and not enough Spider-Man. So let me know what you guys think of this down in the comments section. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be a fun movie, and I'm still looking forward to it. I'm still going to go see it. I just feel like Doctor Strange doesn't need to be in it. But if you guys feel that, then let me know that down in the comments section. Also, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more. So thank you for watching this video, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.
Subscribe.